Okay, ready? Let's get going. Okay, buddy, it's great to see you again. Welcome. Who's online? So we have a special class we're going to be giving on Rosh HaShana, which I'm very happy you're able to attend. We're going to deal with a very interesting question for today, and that is, why is it specifically that the shofar was the instrument that's used on Rosh Hashanah? Our goal is two things. One, to understand why the shofar, and to speak about the different sounds of the shofar, why specifically those sounds, it became what the Torah wanted us to do in fulfillment, of course, of the mitzvah itself. So we are very, we're going to hopefully delve into the different sources in the Torah that deals with the whole inyan of blowing the shofar. We're going to, at the end, hopefully be able to conclude what is unique about the shofar, that it's the tool that became Rosh Hashanah. Remember, this class is called the shofar, a call to action. This is the instrument that we're going to use for that action specifically. There are a lot of other instruments that we can use, but we decided to choose the shofar. There's something unique about it. So our goal is hopefully to go through the different sources and to really come out and say, hey, now we understand why the shofar was used, and we understand why these different sounds, like the tikiyah and the teruah, which we spoke about in the past, what is the purpose of those sounds in this moment of Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so let's begin. So I'm going to share with you a source sheet that I prepared for today's class. 1 second, let's get it over here. Let's see. Okay. Perfect. So again, the class topic is called Shofar, the ultimate call to action. Okay. So begins the Torah in Sefer B'Midbar. This is in Parashat Pinehas, which details to us all of the different holidays and the specific sacrifices or korbanot that were offered in the Beit HaMikdash as part of the celebration. So in Perek Kaftet Pasuk Aleph, it begins with the mitzvah of blowing the shofar on, of course, Rosh Hashanah. Ubachodesh Shivai, it says in the Torah on the 7th month, which is we call Chodesh Tishri, which is the month we're coming now next week or so, starting beginning Lil Shabbat. Be'ahad lachodesh, on the first day of the month, we call Rosh Hashanah. Mikra Kodesh Yelachem. This is a special assembly, a day of calling it for holiness. This is an opportunity for us to stop what we're doing and to get together and deal with Kiddusha. Kol melechet avodah lo tasu. A person is not allowed to do any type of work, labor that usually is forbidden, of course, on Shabbat. Specifically, this would be Yom Tov. Yom Teruah Yelachem. It's a day of Teruah, a day of blasting the shofar. It doesn't say specifically to blow the shofar, but through the pasuk itself, the essence of the day of Rosh Hashanah is Yom Teruah. It's a day where you're going to be hearing the shofar being blown. Okay, so the Torah goes out, it's clear that there is something unique. We can't work. We have to stop what we're doing. And of course, we come together to hear the Teruah. Teruah is one of the sounds, of course, of the shofar. Okay. The Ibn Ezra discusses that normally they were, whenever a korban for the holidays was brought, whether it's Sukkot, whether it's Pesach, or any other special holiday, they would always blow a shofar. So what's going on over here? What's unique that Rosh Hashanah, the Torah says it's a Yom Teruah, a day of the shofar. We blow shofar anyway for all the other holidays. And that's what they used to do in the Beit HaMikdash during that time. So says the Ibn Ezra, no, there's something unique about blowing the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. Mitzvah, we're looking inside. Mitzvah lehariya, excuse me. What just happened here? There you go. I just lost it. I guess, here we go. Mitzvah lehariya, it's a mitzvah on the day of Rosh Hashanah to blow the teruah. Ki'ilu haya zeh hadibur al olat hayom, if it was just basically a regular sacrifice like we do for the holidays, lama lo iskir b'shar mu'adim, why wouldn't we mention the Yom Teruah and the other holidays? So there's something unique about this holiday, that a shofar has to be blown, and it's a mitzvah on that day. Ve'od, ki chol ha'olot tziva litkoa ve'lo la'ariyah. Another point he makes is the following. What means usually another statement. All of the korbanot of the holidays, normally when they used to blow the shofar, for let's say Pesach or for Shavuot, Sukkot, it would be the tikiyah. It would be the long, smooth sound. But they would never blow tiru'ah. The tiru'ah is the broken, choppy sound. But when it came to Rosh HaShana, what's unique about the day of Rosh HaShana, you're obligated to blow the tiru'ah. You have to blow the broken sound. Okay, so first we should ask yourself a question, right? What's going on here? It's a holiday. Rosh Hashanah is a festive day. Like any other holiday, it's a festive day. Why is it that by Rosh Hashanah, Chachamim tell us, Tikiyah is not going to do it. You need to also blow the tiru'ah. It has to be part and parcel of the holiday itself. Interesting question, right? Okay. Buddy, you're welcome to chime in if you want to say something. Okay. Okay, so let's go back. But you understand the question, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So now, let's hold that question for itself. Why specifically do we blow the tiru'ah on Rosh Hashanah as opposed to the tikiyah, which should be the only sound like every other holiday? Obviously, there's something unique to it. The Rambam, so let's try to find out the answer. The Rambam in the Sefer called the Mishneh Torah, where he brings the mitzvot associated with the holiday of Rosh Hashanah. There's one mitzvah for the day. What's the mitzvah? Mitzvat Aseh Shel Torah. There's a positive commandment, one of the 613 commandments in the Torah, Lishmoa Tiru'at HaShofar Berosh Hashanah. To hear the blast of the Tiru'ah, the broken sound of the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, Shine'emar Yom Tiru'ah Yelachem. And it's learned from the word, it doesn't say to blow the shofar, usually it says an action to do. But it says Yom Tiru'ah, it's a day of Tiru'ah, a day where you're going to hear this sound permeate on Rosh Hashanah. Okay, continues Harambam and says the following. So first of all, interesting, he doesn't mention the mitzvah to blow the shofar. It's a mitzvah to hear the sounds of the shofar. So that's important to know, because when you are sitting in the Bet Knesset and you're listening to the shofar, if the mitzvah is to listen to it, you don't have to actually blow the shofar. You have to actually blow it to hear it. But you have to hear the sounds of the shofar. There has to be a sound that's made where you can actually hear it and it gets into your heart. Obviously, we're going to talk about more about that as we go along. But that's important. Okay, and that's why the beracha we say when we're listening to the shofar is Asher Kidishanu b'misotav tzivanu lishmoa kol shofar. The structure of the beracha is that the person's obligated to hear the shofar. It doesn't say litkoa, doesn't say blow the shofar, rather it says to hear the shofar. You hear the sound that comes from the shofar, and the person's blowing it obviously for the mitzvah, you fulfill your obligation of shofar. So continues Harambam and says something very interesting. V'shofar shetoka'im bo ben berosh Hashanah ben beyovel hu keren kevasi makafuf. The shofar that we're going to use to blow, whether it's Rosh Hashanah or whether it's the Yovel. What is the Yovel? We're going to get to that. Is a horn that comes from sheep, or we go ram, that's bent. It has to come from the ram that's bent, that has a bent curve to it. Now, what is, first of all, Yovel? If you remember Yovel, usually when we lived in Eretz Yisrael and you owned a property, for example, you owned lands, and your land produced. Every 7 years, of course, we were obligated to let the land rest. It was called in Hebrew Shemitah. You have to stop working on the land every 7 years. You give it a break, just like we stop at the end of the week on Shabbat. We stop working. We work 6 days, and then the 7th day we stop. We give ourselves, our bodies, a break, and so too when it comes to the land that you plow and you're going to hopefully plant, we give it 1 year off. Now, the Torah continues and says every 7 years you're supposed to do that. But when you count, let's say 7 times 7 years, when you get to the 49th year, okay, there's another year that you have to leave also fallow, 2 years in a row. That's in the 50th year, what's called the Yovel year. It's the year of Jubilee, which means what? Which means that the land cannot be worked either in the 50th year. And not only that, the 50th year, the slaves that were people that were avadim, that were slaves to you, are now totally freed. And any land that you owned that belonged to a original tribe, so let's say you purchased a land from the tribe of Shimon and you were from the tribe of Reuben, right? So that piece of land had to return back to the original tribe. It was a time of freedom. Ukratem diror. Okay, so let's see what's going on over here. Okay. Just to clarify, after the mitzvah of Yovel, v'safarta lecha, and you will count for yourself, sheva shabetot shanim, 7 weeks of years, sheva shanim, sheva pa'amim. It has to be done 7 times. V'ayu lecha yemei sheva shabetot tisha arim shana. After 49 years, this would be the 50th year. We call the Yovel, and the halacha would be v'ha'avarta shofar tiruah b'chodesh hashivai. When do you declare the Yovel year? Well, you think Rosh HaShana. So the Torah says no. You're going to begin the Yovel year with a blowing of the shofar, the same shofar you blow on Rosh Hashanah 10 days later on Yom Kippur. Be'asor lachodesh, that's Yom Kippur itself. Ta'aviru shofar b'chol artzechem. Once you blow the tiruah of the shofar, then what happens? The year becomes a year of Jubilee. Everything b'kidashtem et shenat hamishim shana. In the 50th year, the day is considered holy. It has a special kiddusha that's significant. Ukratem dirot ba'aretz lechol yosheveha, and you will declare freedom throughout the entire land. Yovel, by the way, is from the word shofar. It should be a Yovel year. It's a time where everybody now is going to be b'shavtem ish el achuzato. Every person returns to his property, to the original tribe. Anybody that's a slave now returns back to his family. Here you have clearly the statement made from the Torah that this is a shofar needs to be blown. It's important during this year. So we're going to go now understand there must be a connection. If Rambam mentions the mitzvah of blowing the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, and there's also mitzvah blowing the shofar with the tiruah sound on the Yovel year, there must be a connection between the two. We're going to try to figure that out. And once we figure out the connection, then we'll understand why that tiruah is being used. As you see over here, take a look what Rambam writes. Even though the Torah does not specifically tell us that there's a tiruah that's blown on Rosh Hashanah, we learn from the Yovel year. We see by the Yovel year it's written that there's a tiruah that needs to be sounded. We learn from the Chachamim, the rabbis who taught us the explanation of this mitzvah. Ma tiruat Yovel b'shofar. Just like the Yovel year, they use the shofar. Af tiruat Rosh Hashanah b'shofar. So too, when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, there has to be a shofar that's used. So we're going to understand now. Good. So Rambam clarifies to us that the shofar is the must-use instrument for Rosh Hashanah. The shofar is the instrument to use for the Yovel year. And the sound that the shofar has to make is the teruah. I mean, if I blow a tikiyah only on Rosh HaShana, do I fulfill the mitzvah? No. It sounds like a great sound. It sounds smooth. But to fulfill the mitzvah of tikiyat shofar on Rosh Hashanah and Yovel year, it has to be a teruah. Okay. Now, we have to, what is a teruah? What is a teruah? Teruah is a broken sound. What does breaking sounds mean? When you have something smooth, when you listen to music, right?
Like,
Anytime. Go ahead, buddy. Yeah.
Like, I think it's trying to say, like, means that like the sounds, instead of one long big sound, it's like multiple shorter sounds.
Okay, there's definitely breaking of sounds. As a matter of fact, they call them introtamitim, which means one little toot, 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 toot. The toot is one little sound. That's the difference between a tiruah and a tikiyah. Tikiyah is just one long sound itself. But what does it remind you when a person sees a little cracky and not smooth sound? What does it remind you? It reminds you about a person, their feelings, their emotions. When things are smooth, right, everything seems to go well. But once you start to break sounds, it's like Chachamim wanted to make the teruah seem like a person's crying. When a person's crying, wailing, he's crying. Tears are coming out of his eyes. There's a certain type of emotional pain that comes from the teruah. And on Rosh Hashanah, there is something that we're a little bit in pain, even though it's a happy celebratory day. But what is the pain? I thought Rosh Hashanah is a happy day. What's the issue with the teruah being the sound of pain to be introduced on the holiday of Rosh Hashanah? So let's go and see that the teruah was used in a very interesting story in the Torah. Here we go.
I like stories.
Okay, so there you go. The Torah in Parashat Be'alotecha, this is in Sefer B'midbar, says that Hashem commanded Moshe with the following. He told him to make Aseh lecha sheteh hasoserot kesef, make for yourself 2 silver trumpets. It has to be hammered out. And every time you're going to call the people of Israel together for an assembly, right? Because you have the bell ringing in the school. Well, you want to assemble the Jewish people, it has to be with the hatzotzirot, the silver trumpets. And what kind of sound should you emit from your trumpet? V'take'u ben, use the tikiyah, the long sound. And everybody then will come to the tent of meeting at the time, which was in the center of the camp. Okay, continues the pasuk and says the following. Whenever you're bringing people together, only use the tikiyah. You're assembling people to come together, you have to do tikiyah. There's no teruah mentioned. However, in pasuk tet, if there's going to be a war that you're going to be having to fight in your land, you live in Israel and there's a country that's coming to attack you, or you're starting a war. On the enemy. Don't blow now. Of course, you're going to bring the people together. Don't blow the tikiyah this time. Instead, I want you to blow the teruah sound, the broken sound with your trumpets. And you will be now remembered by Hashem. And He'll save you from your enemies. You see? Go ahead.
I have a question.
Sure.
I always forget which one's which. Which one's broken up into three different parts, and which one's into 9?
Okay, good question. Remember we spoke about the tikiyah is a one smooth sound, and the teruah, there's an argument about what is the real teruah sound. One teruah could be 3 short sounds, or mid-sized sounds you call them. That's called shivarim. Toot, toot, toot. That's called shivarim. Or the teruah could be what we call teruah. 9 small sounds. Toot, 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 toot. Should be 9. Hopefully I counted properly. Right? That's called Tiru'ah. So you have Tikiyah, Shivarim, Tiru'ah, Tikiyah. Good? Now we see over here, you see here that when there's a war that you're going to fight, this is not Rosh Hashanah we're talking about. This is generally, if there's a war, the instrument you're going to use to get the people together and be ready to fight this war is the trumpet, but you're going to sound the Tiru'ah. The Tiru'ah has to be part of it. So, it builds up what we're saying. Tiru'ah is a sound of pain, the sound of crying. Imagine you're being attacked by an enemy. So what do? You're supposed to cry out to Hashem to help you. You can't just be confident that you're going to win the war. There has to be a feeling of pain inside, a sadness, that you're hoping that through your sadness, through the blowing of this shofar, Hashem is going to hear your pain and He's going to come and protect you from your enemies. That's the Tiru'ah. And now it makes sense, by the way. There's a Tiru'ah on Rosh Hashanah. What's the Tiru'ah on Rosh Hashanah? It says, Yom Tiru'ah Yelachem. It's a day of Tiru'ah. And Zichron Tiru'ah Yelachem. It's a day to remember the Tiru'ah. We're being judged. We're being judged on the holiday of Rosh Hashanah. It's Yom Adin. It's a day of judgment. And there's a feeling that we want to come back to you. We missed you, Hashem. We want to return to you. This is the beginning of the return. So that little pain, that little sadness that's there is reflected in the tiru'ah of the shofar that's being blown. Not only that, there's this happiness on the day of Rosh Hashanah. It's a simcha, it's a mo'ed. So to include that, look at this pasuk. The last pasuk of the laws of blowing the shofar for different reasons. On the day of your happiness and on your holiday, the beginning of your month. It's a happy time. Anytime we begin a new month, we're all happy, like Rosh Chodesh. You should blow the trumpets with a tikiyah on the korbanot that you're going to bring. And it will also be remembrance to Hashem too. Not just the cry, but this is a tikiyah of happiness, joy. We want you to feel happy because God is with you. Don't feel that He left you. There, you're feeling pain, but at the same time, there's joy. Ani Hashem Elokechem, I am Hashem your God. Now you understand, by the way, why the tikiyah has to be with the tiru'ah. You can't just blow the tiru'ah. It's only pain, but there has to be tikiyah with it. That's happiness and joy. Be happy. Be joyous. I'm with you. I'm remembering you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to take care of you. And this is what Hashem is saying with the blowing of the shofar. Another also interesting idea is that the shofar is like a tefillah. When you're blowing the shofar, it's like you're praying. Because here, the shofar makes Hashem remember you. And you become remembered. He hears your voice. He hears that sound. He knows that He's there for you. And also Yovel. The Yovel year, people were away from each other. Now they're coming back. There's a sense of joy, and there's also pain at the same time. So we brought the shofar tiru'ah that has tikiyah and tiru'ah all together. So you like that, buddy? Is that interesting? Okay. I wanted to show you inside that even the Targum Kelu Sager, he says that when it says Yom Tiru'ah Yelachem, what does it mean, Yom Tiru'ah? He says Yom Yababa Yelechon. Yababa is a day of crying. Even though Rosh Hashanah is not a day of crying, it's a day of happiness. But deep down inside, the soul wants to cry. But we take that soul and we couple it what? We put a tikiyah before and we sanj it with tikiyah after. Tikiyah, Tiru'ah, tikiyah, because even though there's pain, I'm there with you. I'm protecting you. I want you to be joyous.
So instead of being sad cries, it's happy cries.
It's a happy cry. It's a joy. Hashem, I'm in pain that you're not with me, but you really are with me. And this is a representative through the shofar blowing that you're there for me. You're watching me. You want me to succeed. You want me to be there for you. Amazing. That's the inyan of tiru'ah. Good? Okay, I'm going to end off with something very nice. You ready? Okay. So, remember we spoke about last time, is that we weren't sure what the teruah was sounded. Is it the 3 short sounds, or it is the 9 little tiny sounds? There's different types. There's shivarim, or there's a teruah. There was a rabbi by the name of Rabbi Abu that thought there's even a third sound. It starts with 3 short and then 9 little ones, which is called tashrat. That Rabbi Abu decided, we're going to take all the different types of tiruah, all those sad sounds, and we're going to make you listen to all those sounds of 30 sounds instead of 9 on the holiday of Rosh HaShana. Because everybody has a different type of cry. And we want to make sure we take into account all of the cries. Whoever it is listening to it can relate to it. People cry by moaning. People also cry, So all those 2 different things, we want to make sure you're part, because at the end of the day, the shofar tiruah, we want you to feel the little pain, the sadness, but at the same time, there has to be a tikiyah before, and a tikiyah of joy. And hopefully, B'ezrat Hashem, this is our goal for the holiday of Rosh Hashanah. We're happy, we're joyous, but we also feel the sadness deep down inside. Hashem didn't forget, He's with us. He knows we're having a hard time. We're being judged. We're nervous. What's going to happen? Is Hashem going to judge us properly? And then what ends up happening? Hashem says, don't worry. I'm your king. I'm your melech. And I'm watching you. And I'm going to give you 10 days to do teshuvah from here on. You always can come back to me. I'm always here for you. Just make sure you hear the shofar. Feel the shofar. And now from that point on, we'll be able to properly begin the teshuvah process and hopefully be sealed in the book of life on the holiday of Yom Kippur. How'd you like that? Nice? Okay, yeah. I'm very happy. It was a really nice class today. I really enjoyed it. Okay, so please share. You want to review quickly? What did you learn about the teruah? What kind of sound is the teruah? Let's go over it together.
It's a cry.
Yes?
It's supposed to be a cry.
A cry, yes. It's a cry. It's a sad cry. But the purpose of the sad cry is what? So that we remembered. God remembers us. It's like a cry of tefillah, a prayer. The same way they went to war, they had prayer. So too we cry to Hashem. We're being judged. We're praying to you. It's important for us to feel that connection that we have with you. And what is the tikiyah? What is the tikiyah? Buddy?
The tikiyah. Sorry, I forgot to unmute my microphone. The tikiyah is it's like one long smooth sound to resemble happiness.
That's right. It's a smooth sound, and it's supposed to be a representative of happiness. That word simcha, we enjoy, we feel confident. And notice we go into Rosh HaShanah, we don't mourn, we're not sad. We wear beautiful clothing, we feel good about ourselves because we feel confident Hashem is going to remember us on the day of Rosh HaShanah and hopefully give us the proper judgment for the hayim, for life, a good judgment, a sweet new year. And with the confidence we build, this is what keeps us going. All right, very good. Okay, buddy, it was great to see you. Zaku Baruch. Thank you for joining for today's class.
You too.
Also, there's one thing I wanted to tell you, maybe you could mention, but the SCA is the program that organized today. They are looking to raise money, and you can go into the SCA update where they, on the website, if you want to donate money to help the organization. They're trying to raise $1 million in helping with supporting the programs and the classes that are going on throughout the entire year. You could share with your mom if you want, and it's a nice program. I've been doing the program now for a while, and it's beautiful to have this going on. Okay, buddy. Thank you for today. It was beautiful. Zaku Baruch.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.